is back at it, and we are on episode number 14. Today, we're going to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. So stay tuned.
Real homies wanna know.
Real homies wanna know. Real homies wanna know.
Real homies wanna know.
All right, so y'all, this week I had the opportunity to speak with Benita Dowdell and Brandon Allison, two individuals who work in the mental health field. We got to sit down and chop it up about mental health and aging, so that's what we're about to do right now. Let's get to it. So, either one of you can go first and just say a little bit about you as far as your background and all of that.
Benita, I can defer to you. Ladies first.
Okay. So my name is Benita Dowdell. I have a bachelor's in social work, a master's in social work, and currently I have my licensed clinical social work associate, soon to be fully licensed. I am currently working for an agency, nonprofit agency, that our focus is providing medical care and wraparound services to a population of people who are 55 and older, and also medically frail, to give them services to keep them in the community and out of the facilities. So that's what I'm currently doing. But my passion is normalizing therapy for mainly African American women, because we feel like we always have to be strong and carry everything. And also for people in the faith community, which we kind of feel like we have to faith it through completely without any resources or any support. And we depend everything on whether we believe hard enough and don't always believe in therapy. So that's me.
All right, okay, Brandon.
Well, I guess I have to start a little bit on the back end before I just want to say I'm definitely an advocate too for normalizing therapy. That is definitely a passion of mine, especially within the African American community, as we are very underrepresented, not only in service delivery, but also in those who are willing to engage in services. So I had to acknowledge that is definitely a passion of mine. I have a Master's of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling from North Carolina A&T. And I also am provisionally licensed with, forgive me, our acronym has just changed, Licensed Clinical Mental Health Counselor. We were formerly LPCs, or Licensed Professional Counselors, and I too will be subscribing to the board for my full licensure very shortly. So I'm very much looking forward to that, so I can get rid of that associate licensure. But it has been a really good introduction to the field of behavioral health. I currently work doing some employee assistance work with the healthcare system here in Charlotte. And I also do some private practice and agency work, contracting on the side for an agency here in Charlotte as well.
Great. I was hoping you were going to mention Winston-Salem State, but you said A&T, and I was kind of like...
Aggie pride.
No. The foundation, we have to go back to one.
You're right. You know what? You're right.
Okay.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that I was homegrown at the Winston-Salem State University, where I did kind of start my interest, so to speak, in wanting to serve underrepresented populations. So absolutely, shout out to Winston-Salem State for sure.
Yes. All right. So I'm glad you all said a little bit about yourselves so people can have an idea and know that it's not just two randoms on here talking.
No, we're not randoms.
Right. You all have experience and knowledge in this field, and I just wanted people to know that. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the first question. Basically, my focus is all about having a positive Asian experience, and I really do believe that it starts with mental health, because it's all up in here, as far as how we look at life and how we move through life. So would you say that focusing on our mental health would be a great contribution? And tell me why, or why not?
I would definitely speak to that and say that it is absolutely an integral part of the aging process. When you sort of phrased that question to me, it made me think about it a little bit. And I'm more of a developmental person when it comes to mental health. I believe that we all develop across the lifespan, that there are different stages that we all kind of go through and navigate through. And I think that as you experience different changes in your growth and your development, I believe addressing your mental health in each of those phases sort of helps you navigate through them more successfully, and or when you do achieve, or not achieve, but rather encounter different roadblocks that may be, or different challenges with just adjusting to where you are in that phase of life. I definitely believe that no matter what your age level, that you could certainly benefit from addressing your mental health via counseling. Absolutely.
And I completely agree as well. I look at it as just as important as we, over time, we address things such as maintaining our physical body, whether we go and, get massages, and go and get check-ins with checkups with the doctor, maintain good hair. I think it's very important that we do go and see about our mental health and check in with a therapist, and use it as an opportunity to grow, because sometimes people feel like it has to be things going wrong, but it actually keeps us going, keep us focused, so that we can progress and live our best life. Sometimes we have barriers in our life that we don't really understand why we keep getting stopped at this particular place. And when we go and we invest in going to a therapist, invest in ourselves and our mental health, we see ourselves progress further than we would if we didn't take the time to even consider that as an important area.
That's
absolutely
good. Yeah, and I like what you said about where people may think something has to be wrong. It doesn't always mean that there's something wrong for why you would seek help. You really could be using it as a checks and balance system, just to make sure, because sometimes we suppress things and we don't realize it. I like what both of you said, and I agree that it's a great contribution to how we age and our experience. It takes me to the next topic, which is about dispelling myths. There's a lot of myths around mental health and seeking help and all of those things. So can you all speak to what myths you've heard and then dispel them so people can have a better understanding?
Absolutely. I know, even speaking from personal experience, Christina, with how I was raised, I was very much raised in a home where it was literally said, you don't talk about your business outside of the house. That was very much known in my mother's house, my grandmother's house. Everything was very much in-house. And now that I'm older, and I realize where intergenerational traumas and things of that nature can be passed down in our lineage and through our families, I realize the impact that had, that is a myth that we shouldn't talk about. Things that are going on with us. No, you absolutely should talk about things that may be going on with you, and emotional barriers that you may have created unknowingly for yourself, or that may have been passed down to you just through your family of origin. So that's probably one of the biggest myths, along with the people who go to counseling. Honestly, something I had heard was that counseling was for white people. That was another one that I heard for a long time, that wasn't something that African Americans engaged in because of that very reason. That's seen as crazy, or, that's not what we do. So that's not for us, or it wasn't accepted.
And for me, one of the major things that I would love to dispel, because I grew up in the church, been in church all my life, is that going to therapy and seeking help and needing support when it comes to your mental health is a sign of weakness or a lack of faith. And that's one of the things that I really, would love to dispel, especially in the faith community, because, just as God graced our doctors to address our physical needs, He has also blessed therapists and counselors with the wisdom to assist us through things that we need to process in our minds so that we can become and live abundantly like He intended for us. He intended us to have an abundant life. And that's why He's graced us with the knowledge and the skill to walk people through, and even ourselves as therapists go and have someone walk us through things that we need to process so that we can live and see how beautiful life is. So that's one of the things. And then also another thing is the idea that therapy and counseling is for people who are quote unquote crazy or have persistent mental illness such as major depression, depressive disorder, or bipolar disorders or schizophrenia. But it's not just for those individuals. It's for people who need the opportunity to go and process things, to better themselves and grow and just see things different, learn a different perspective, and process things, just simple basic things when you're in a comfortable environment that's safe, and the counselor doesn't have any dog in the fight. They don't have anything to win from it. They're not someone just trying to get over their point. They're just there to listen. So those two things are two major myths that I would like to destroy.
And if I could add to that, I wish more people knew, Benita, going to your point, that I would say the number of clients I actually even encounter who have major depressive disorders and some of your more significant mental health diagnoses is probably on the smaller majority in terms of people that we see. I get a lot more clients who have adjustment disorders in terms of even a teenager who's having a hard time adjusting to high school, a new family adjusting to being married and having children. All of these are what we call, milestones in life or major life happenings that a lot of people go through without thinking that I can be consumed with stress trying to manage this new adjustment in my life. And we assume that that's normative. Well, stress to some degree may be, but if it's impacting you daily or day in and day out, well, that means you're having a problem adjusting to that. And I get more things with that and do a lot of family work and a lot of couples counseling, and they don't have major depressive disorders or symptoms of that nature. It's just general life concerns that are impacting their ability to navigate this new life occurrence.
That was good. I'm glad you said that. That was really good. And I think for me, I've heard people, and this may not necessarily be a myth, but I would want y'all to speak on it as far as looking at, so you decide, all right, I'm going to give this a try because nothing's working. I've tried to do this on my own. So now I'm going to get help. But you go and you think after that one session, you should be where you want to be or whatever, and you're not. And so then you feel that it's a waste of time. Can you all speak to how people can process through that and not see it as like an overnight thing, but just as a journey that you're going through?
I'll be honest, one of the biggest things that I right with what you said, people, they feel like I can go and this magic thing is going to happen in this one session. But therapy is work, just like life. Life is work, and you have to invest in it. And sometimes you have to take the time to, shop around and find the right therapist for you. Sometimes, I might not be the best therapist for you, Christina, but the next therapist is. So you have to shop around. But a lot of times, even with shopping around, I don't think people give it a time sometimes. So sometimes you have to take a little bit of time to see how maybe 3 to 4 sessions go, to see how you're feeling things out. And, you know, sometimes we don't even recognize the growth or the change immediately when it's happening. So just be willing to be open to it not feeling good or comfortable at first, and really honestly not ever feeling comfortable, because that's the whole point sometimes with therapy, is to push you to areas of discomfort to get you to address some things that you haven't ever addressed before. So my advice, my main recommendation is for people to give it time. Give it time, more than 1 or 2 sessions. And then if you still continue to not be comfortable, shop around and don't quit. Don't give up on it. Just seek it out. Like you going to find the car you want. You know, you test drive it. And that would be my recommendation.
I 100% agree. I think that that's a major challenge that we face, is the fact that a lot of people aren't sure what they should be looking for in the first place. And so I really try to assist people in identifying where you should look for services, because a lot of people don't know where to begin. Some people may go through their employers and, get someone that they're paying for to be on that payroll. So you get who's the next available, who has the availability on your schedule. And so and sometimes that could be a fit too, but I really try to encourage people to do their due diligence in terms of research, like you mentioned, and be realistic about maybe what you're looking for once you kind of get in that arena and really start to search. It really is about the right fit. I'm not everybody's style. And I learned very early in my career not to take that personal. You know, if somebody doesn't call back or somebody doesn't do a follow-up, you're not everybody's. But I also look at the flip side of how many people I know that I have been beneficial for, and helpful for, because my style I have my own style, but there's also things about me that I'm still learning as a therapist. And so, I'm not everybody's fit, and you have to be okay with knowing when you're not. And I think that's also the importance of knowing your biases and knowing your strengths. And so I really encourage people to at least give it 3 sessions or so, and be willing to sort of let the process take shape. Because that first session is really gathering background information and an assessment process, introducing you to counseling. And for most, insurance carriers, if that's what you're doing, that's 50 minutes. So I have 50 minutes to sort of indoctrinate and introduce you to what you're doing, and then maybe another 20 minutes to actually try to get to know you a little bit, just to even know what direction, we need to go in for session 2. So, you really do need to try to be patient, and really be open-minded to the counseling process. Because Christina, going back to what you said, healing, it's a process. That's how I look at it. And you're not going to heal anything overnight, even with just a Band-Aid. So you're certainly not going to heal years of trauma and things that you may be dealing with even in your current life with just 50 minutes of talking to someone.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. So moving on to my last question. And this mainly, it came up because I've talked with people. We have this whole COVID-19 going on, and I mean, even before that, issues, but people have this idea of how they want their lives to go. And when it doesn't go the way they wrote it out in their journal, or they thought it in their minds, or a family member or someone said it should go this way, and it doesn't go that way, it goes completely opposite. And then they're trying to figure out what to do or how to move forward. And then they start to spiral because they may feel like defeated or discouraged or whatever. How would you all say would be the best way to move through challenges? Like outside of seeking therapy, what other things do you think individuals can do to work through their issues or through things that come up that just caught them off guard?
I would say initially, I think it's important to know the full strength of your support network. Counseling is but a small component. It's an important component, don't get me wrong, but it is it's an integral component of, I think, a whole system of things. And I tend to look at a family with my theoretical orientation as a systems approach. And I think it takes an entire system. So I think you have to first recognize the strength and or the weaknesses and limitations of your actual support network. You bring up it's so current. That's what we're living in. That's why we're meeting this way. Distance and so forth obviously play a role. But I think the reality of where we are dealing with COVID, you have a lot of people, this is a very unexpected occurrence. And so I think you have to be mindful of triggers that you may have, like you said, prior to COVID-19 and everything that has changed. But if you were a person who dealt with anxiousness beforehand, this just may exacerbate those feelings or exacerbate those symptoms. So I think you really have to know when you're reaching your peak. I think you have to sort of have a understanding of where your threshold ends or begins and ends in terms of how much you can handle. I also encourage people to be proactive versus reactive in terms of their emotions and their feelings. So I think having a very strong support network and understanding that what works for you today on Tuesday may not work on Wednesday and Thursday. Like it may not. Like you have to have other outlets that are comfortable for you, but actually knowing how to reach and identify what those outlets actually are.
And to add to that, I would say one of the biggest things, especially like for me, and kind of doing things most people would say a little backwards. I worked, then I went to school. Being patient with yourself and showing yourself grace. Recognize that each day we're waking up trying to figure it out, and we don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. In the same way that you speak to your friends when you're trying to encourage them when they're down and feeling discouraged about something, or if you have children, in the same way you would encourage your children if they came to you crying. Speak to yourself that way. Encourage yourself. Be patient with yourself. So show yourself some grace. Life happens, and there are things that you will never have control over. There are things you have control over. Do the best you can and just continue to show yourself grace and patience. And each day, take another stab at it and try again. Just do your best and find some peace in the fact that you did your best. And also, gratitude journals are really helpful because sometimes we forget the progress that we've made and the blessings and the gifts that we have, and a time when we didn't have it, and the things that we did during those times to get through those rough times. Those are some things I would recommend and that have been helpful for the people I've worked with and helpful for me.
That's good. Okay. I didn't know if I was on mute.
You kind of.
All right. Well, I appreciate you all. Those are all the questions I have, but is there anything else you all want to add?
I would just add, I think just the importance. First of all, I want to say thank you for having a platform where, worlds that other people may not feel can coexist and work together. They actually do. So I want to thank you for using your platform and your passion about what you do in terms of aging and that process and making it a more, I think, dispelling your own myths and sort of sharing with people that aging is a process and it doesn't have to be a horrible one. It doesn't have to be this old image of your younger self who just doesn't enjoy life anymore. So I really appreciate the videos that you do and what you put out there and giving us a platform to talk about how those two things go together. In saying that, we have to have more things like this. We have to have more conversations, whether it's a Zoom call or whether it's, when you and your girlfriends or whomever get together. These are the things we have to talk about. I'm not saying that there aren't fun and exciting topics that we can sit and discuss, but I think there are so many networks socially that we all belong to that if we have to be the representation of being a change agent and start those conversations, you don't want your friends to be your counselors, but you do want to encourage them to maybe think about going and to push that message to them so that they push it to someone else who can push it to someone else. We're always trying to get our businesses off the ground and so forth and so on, and encourage and passing out business cards for that. Well, encourage your friends to go see somebody. If they're continuing to come to you and talking about their boyfriend and the children are getting on their nerves and they stressed and this is going on, well, you can't help them with that, because that's draining on you. That's draining on your relationship with them. Not that you can't be a friend, but I think just understanding where that limit is and just the importance of what we do. I just wanted to say that we have to have more. I want this to be ongoing conversation amongst us, for us, on how to help us.
Benita, do you have anything else you want to say?
I agree with everything he said, and I really appreciate the opportunity for another platform to share the importance of addressing mental health. I mean, it just makes life better, and I appreciate it, and I hope that many people hear this and they find themselves encouraged to just look at life in a different perspective and to grow and just enjoy it and have some balance between, don't make life so serious too, right. But just enjoy living. Life is really what you make it. Everything that you want, you can make it happen if you just, address how you think about things.
Absolutely. Well,
be proactive.
Yes.
So I just really appreciate everything the both of you said. It's very helpful, and I really do believe that it's gonna help, even if it's just one person. You know what I'm saying? Just one.
We'll take one.
Just one.
One
yes.
person. That's
it.
That's it. Before we go, are we allowed to ask? Can we ask you a question? Because I have one.
Yes. Look, y'all ain't send me no email saying what questions was gonna be asked. Go ahead.
No, I'm just curious with your skill set and being in gerontology. What do you see, I guess, from the aging process and mental health? Like how do you see that on your end in terms of the population that you work with? Just their concept as they do get into their elder years of their own mental wellness. Like, how do you see it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So my role, I'm a long-term care ombudsman. So I advocate for residents who live in long-term care facilities. And a lot of times the residents that I make connections with, some of them have a positive outlook on life and they may be well into their 80s. And then there's others that it's more negative, but it's related to things they could have addressed when they were younger, and it just kept growing. And so all of these issues put them in a negative space as far as how they look at life. So that's really what I see as far as serving the older adult population. But I'm really encouraged when I see individuals who have a positive outlook on life, and like I said, they're well into their 80s. It's like, okay, yeah. So my thing is, all right, now I see both sides of this, positive and negative. If we can address these issues in our younger years, like whether we're teenagers, young adults, whatever, then we can start seeing things in a more positive light. And as we continue to get older, it's like, life is good. This is cool. I've had some ups, I've had downs. Sometimes I had more downs than ups, but all in all, like, life has been cool.
And that's what you just said. I mean, one of the best things is hearing somebody who's like 70, 80 years old say, I never thought about it like that, or I never considered that, and wanting to address their thought process. Because we have this myth that, you know, when you get older, we're just set in our way and we can't change our thought, we can't change our perspective. So the fact that people can understand that it's never too late. Like, every day you wake up, you have an opportunity to change your perspective and look at life different. You don't have to be set in anything.
They are definitely, I will say, one of the, from my experience, depending on where they are in their aging process, it is a different population to engage in services depending on what age group we're talking about. I get older, more so mid to late 50s. I've had a few in their 60s, not much beyond that. So I definitely, Christina, for you, please continue to push that message for them and to them, because they are fun to have in counseling as well, because they are very much speak their mind and have a lot of really good introspection into where they are in that period in their life. But I do see some that are resistant, just depending on when they were born. But they're resistant to not just that, but I think modern medicine and talking to people in trust, I think, is the biggest thing that I come across in working with the elder population. So I love them. I love working with them. So I hope you continue to push that message too.
I will. Whew. That was a great conversation that only scraped the surface, but it is my desire that it encouraged you and provoked thought. And just always keep in mind that you are never too old and you're never too young to take your mental health seriously. That's all I got. So in the meantime, in between time, you be blessed. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.